I don't want to be like a surfer, cowabunga D. I don't want to do that, bro. Just sunburn the whole time.
Welcome to the Gen Z podcast. I'm your co-host today, JP Jackson. To my far right is Mr. Rizaan Rose. How are you doing?
Listen, far right is a lot, maybe. Hi, JP.
It's because of the enterprise, equipment and desk that we have here. You are quite far away from me.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't like the level that you're speaking at. I first want to say salam to the audio listeners. Salam. So in the middle today, we have a special guest today. Someone that myself and JP have know nothing about. We did no research. We literally just met this brother on the road. He has a PhD. He's a lecturer professor. Ooh, R.I.P. to English. Oh, he's the Fresh Prince of Belhar. Professor Warrick Moses, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the great introduction. I just call myself the Fresh Prince of Belhar. It's not actually a thing that people do call me.
No. It's canon now. It's canon now.
It's facts.
I mean, that's sort of
It's written.
on my
It's canon
Instagram.
now.
So,
It's written.
I think it has a
Good.
it has a good.
Because it's
flow.
like, sorry, it's like, it's right there, man. Like it's right there.
yeah.
Like Belhar, Belhar. Like it's right there. And you are from the generation that was young enough to experience the Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
I'm in danger every time I say fresh now because
You feel that?
I'm in so much danger. Yo, bro. Like, you know when I'm in trouble, sorry if you do this, is when there's like that word that is TION, like protection, for example. But then it's followed by services. Then I go from a SH sound to a solid S sound. I'm born gonna say protection services. I'm gone, my bro. Like, I hate it. I'm like, do other things, my bro. Yo. Protection services, my bro. But after that, I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna lock in. I'm locking. How are we doing today? Sorry, how's everyone doing today?
I'm good, Rizaan. I'm good.
Oh, I'm obviously in danger, so I'm just gonna move the conversation away from me. Okay.
No, you're doing great.
Yeah. So, you've obviously someone who is here for 3 months. You don't actually live here in South Africa with us.
I don't know why you got to start like that.
Now, so the government can know.
Yeah,
You
okay.
must.
Okay. Yo, yeah.
That just exposed you.
No, I didn't say where he's going.
Okay, yeah, fair.
I didn't say why he's here.
Yeah.
But you are from here.
Yes.
And so we want to sort of start there from your roots.
Okay.
Right. So we have no idea what your age is, so like let that reveal itself throughout the course of the day. But yeah, I just want to know, so like what is your formative years like growing up in the streets of
The streets of middle class old Belhar. Yeah. I mean, I think that's very much a part of it. Growing up middle class, and like old Belhar is very different from new Belhar. It's very different from Delft, which is right across the way. You know, so like because of those experiences, because of that class privilege, definitely I have had more opportunities, available to me. I mean, again, but like middle class from Belhar is very different from growing up middle class in Rondebosch. You know what I'm saying? So like, there have been opportunities that have afforded to me that I have been able to pursue. Fortunate enough to like capitalize on in a certain way, but I think that's also sort of the distinction between a broad kind of non-white identity. How are you able to access these different things? What what is the distinction between this is how one bro was able to do this and this is how another person was able to do this, you know.
So where did the love of music start? Because you went to go and study the clarinet, right?
Yeah, it's not man, it's not like the coolest instrument, you know. Like anyways, so I
Sorry. What's the clarinet again? Is it that direction or this
no,
direction?
it's forward. It's down.
Forward. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
That's cool.
No,
Forward.
That just clips it. Yeah. I just clips it. I was like, is it this direction? Am I summoning a snake?
Yeah.
Or am I going this direction? You know what I'm saying? Am I blowing out seashore? What's happening? So that's the clarinet. Okay, not the coolest. Okay, say more.
I mean, like, I don't know. So I studied clarinet at UCT, South African College of Music. Did my 4-year bachelor's in that, and then straight after that, I got a Fulbright scholarship to go and study in America at Boston University, and I did a master's degree in clarinet performance. And then, like, I came back to South Africa. Went back to the States. I was teaching sort of classroom music for a little bit. But I was teaching in a like working class, working poor background, like community where a lot of Cape Verdean students of Cape Verdean descent, African American students.
This is in Lexington, right?
Oh, bro, this is in Dorchester, which is outside of Boston. And so.
Sorry, why are you tapping the man's roots here? This is in says that you. No, sorry, man, it's jarring. No,
I mean, so I guess I'm also leaving some steps out.
Also,
but
that's
basically,
crazy. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's actually crazy because Boston. I'm not gonna say the state. Can you say it?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Continue.
I mean, you know that show. That show
take a
Cheers.
lot to impress Rizaan.
Wow, people unsubscribe for that line.
I'll just edit it out.
Oh, because they made so proud of the fact that you could say Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's a hard one to spell for sure. Yeah. But
I didn't joke. I'm done with it. Sorry.
no, but like you know that show Cheers. Remember the show Cheers? I don't know if you.
Is it what's that guy? The guy from Frasier.
Yeah.
He's
and then like
what's his
Ted
name
Dance, Kelsey Grammer.
Kelsey Grammer.
And so anyway, so Cheers was set in Boston, and like the whole theme song, you know, where everybody knows your name. I don't know why I'm saying that, but like that certainly, like growing up, that was kind of a cultural thing. That's what you see on TV, you know, because like The Fresh Prince, like all these syndicated shows from America are shown here. So you grow up with this kind of impression of what America is, watching these TV shows, and like watching what, how you imagine America to be in a certain kind of way, right? And so so I spent most of my time in the States in Boston. Like I said, I went to Boston University to do a master's degree in clarinet performance. Then I went back. I was teaching like classroom music from kindergarten to like 8th grade in a town called Dorchester, which is outside of Boston proper. And it was more, the kind of syllabus was kind of based on Western art, classical music, or like American folk tunes. You know, and so the population that I was working with, like I kind of already started distancing myself from Western art music, classical music. And certainly I didn't have any kind of relation to American folk tunes, and neither did the population, black and brown population that I'm teaching, you know? So I became more interested in like an education curriculum that actually something that the students could relate to in a certain kind of way. And so I went back to school.
So wait, sorry. Are you saying the experience that you had teaching those kids, is that what sort of like caused the shift, or did you have no relationship going in and that sort of just like confirmed like, yeah, this isn't for me?
No, it was definitely that experience.
The experience.
You know,
Oh, okay.
It's
Cool,
like,
cool. Okay, that's important. That's,
how am I, like the stuff that I'm teaching, the stuff that is in the syllabus, the stuff that is available.
that doesn't resonate with you.
It doesn't resonate with the students. It doesn't resonate with me either. I mean, I'm sure it does resonate with a particular demographic, but not the one that I was working with. You know what I'm saying? So the idea of, I guess I think there's a shift in pedagogy. There you go. Rest in power, English. You know? A shift from like an idea of a culturally responsive pedagogy to a culturally sustaining pedagogy. You know,
Still listening to you.
And so I basically went back to school to try and learn how to teach different kinds of music that were not necessarily Western art, classical music, in different kinds of ways.
Can I just do a thing? I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
To the audio listeners. Pedagogy, the profession of teaching, the activities of educating, teaching, or instructing. That was, you gave the most wild word for teaching. And I'm like, what? What did I just learn today?
Right, it's like,
There you have it.
listen,
And the cecil classroom.
Are you going to teach stuff that the students relate to, or are you going to teach stuff that they don't? You know?
Yeah.
And what are the limitations of your job in that way? You know? And what is your own satisfaction? How is this impacting the community you're working with, basically? And so this is also another kind of long story. I got into this field of ethnomusicology, which is basically music anthropology. So it's like, why do people make music? What does the music mean in certain communities? You know, how do you like maintain cultural traditions in a contemporary space through music? What does that all mean to people, right? And so that was kind of the idea behind trying to learn what kind of music can I teach in this space that is going to serve the community in this way.
Okay. And was that when you wrote the paper In the Mix, which explored
you are jumping way ahead. You are jumping like 8 years ahead.
So that was further down the line.
Yeah. So so then I did a master's degree in ethnomusicology. The way it turned out is I didn't actually end up doing education in that space. My advisor was an Africanist. He was a specialist in Ghanaian music.
Wow.
And he was like, listen, you know, the projects that you're talking about are going to take a lifetime. The master's degree is 2 years long. I write about Africa. You're from Africa. Why don't you just write about something from Africa? I'm like, okay, cool. So that's when I really got interested in writing about hip hop in Cape Town. But yeah, my initial interest in that wasn't necessarily the music. It's like growing up, I had heard of Prophets of the City, but like in an academic sense at that time, I was really most interested in race, classification of race. How does that work in South Africa? How do people, kind of the difference between like a social identity and a self-identity. So like social identity is how other people perceive you, and a self-identity would be how you perceive yourself and how you present yourself, right? And so what kind of conflicts, antagonisms come up from that? And then because I was a musician, it just kind of fit together that like hip hop as a resistive form of music was dealing with these things. A group like Rastafani Cup and Prophets of the City obviously were dealing with these things. So I wrote my master's thesis basically on an album by Rastafani Cup and how they were able to challenge stereotypes of basically racial stereotypes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
how, given the main racial categories in Cape Town at the time that still exist, like whiteness, coloredness, blackness, how their music was able to appeal to these different groups through very different ways.
So you walked in today saying, wait, I'm not that interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
And I think, at least from my side, we need to hear more of these
Are
things.
we?
Right?
Okay.
So we need to hear that what people before us have gone through is being explored. It's being documented in places. Informal writing being published. Something that we've been speaking about in this podcast for a while is that we need to get more of these things in place.
Okay.
Because a lot of the things that we talk about and we have discussions about is not actually in 20 years' time going to be able to be looked back by those people. And this is what historians have used, right?
Yeah.
Papers, dissertations based on what they have explored at the time.
Yeah.
So it's so important to us that these things do get documented so that the next people that come after us are also able to explore that.
And like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because I was going to say that, like, I think the closest thing we have to some form of cultural integration from the people that look like us and that we learn are the poems that we learn at school, or the like those novels that we learn at school. So, but there's not a more advanced form of it. Whereas with let's call it the Western culture, we learn about that, like the Shakespeare and stuff, which is a bit more advanced literature, because you still get to do that at university. And I feel like there's a lot more that you can learn from, like, exploring artists that come from South Africa in a more advanced way. But I think there doesn't exist someone. Obviously, you are now here telling us that you've done the work, but it doesn't exist, like, say, a faculty of people that have deconstructed the source material in a way that, like, is okay, now we can teach it. And I think there's a lot of what you said has already inspired me, because I don't know if I told JP, but JP, I think JP knows, I think Lal knows this. One of my goals is to sort of become a champion for African culture and sort of be like, have South Africa, because we have like 13 languages that are official or 12 that are official, but like so many unofficial languages. So that means you also have
number 40.
Crazy. and then by that idea, then also unexplored cultures within just the country of South Africa. Imagine the continent of Africa then. And so it sounds like that is something, okay, not similar, but it sounds like you also have such a lofty ideal that you wanted to explore.
I mean, that's tricky. Like, and there's a lot of stuff that you guys have brought up. So yeah, like, I do think it is important to document these kinds of things and these kinds of sort of critical looks at pretty much what we've already experienced, what like regular people already experience, right? And already know. But the first thing is, like, you might already feel these things, but in order to actually theorize, write about, think about it more critically, you really just need time, you know? And most people like have regular jobs, whereas academics, which is a regular job, I just have a lot more time to think about this stuff. So that's the first thing. The other thing is like accessibility. Like, yes, it is being written down, but it's published in academic journals. It has to be written in a very specific kind of language. Most of it is behind a paywall. So if you are affiliated to a university, you do have access to this. But if you're not, then you don't have access to that. So then how many people are in university? How many people can get to a university? How do we work those things out? So I haven't written a whole ton of things, but there are some things that I've written that, like, I don't even have the final copy of it, because it's like, maybe my university doesn't have access to this particular journal, or I have to call a friend at another university who does have access, then he can download this copy of it, something like that. So it's on the one hand, yeah, it is being written. That's great. It's being documented. Fantastic. But then how does it get back to a community that doesn't have these, first of all, this access to education, and also ostensibly hasn't been trained to read this in a certain way,
Yeah.
but like because of the medium, it has to be written in a certain way, you know?
Yeah.
So it's all those kinds of complications of like access. How do you make it again relevant to the people that you're actually working with? Yeah.
I'll take that. Like, it sucks, but I'll take that because it sounds like if someone wants to undertake a project like that, just have to go through paying the paywall and then sort of then making it then accessible.
Yeah.
Sorry, God.
So what are you currently teaching?
I mean, I want to also just, make it clear, like, yeah, I've studied in the States, and again, that is entirely related to my class privilege, but then the only reason I was able to study is because I got scholarships to do that, I couldn't afford any of these universities. I specifically applied to private universities that do have scholarships, that do offer scholarships for this kind of work. And like, if I didn't get that, I don't know how else I would have been able to do that,
So how did you apply for those, Warrick?
Again, looking at private universities, that there's a difference between sort of private universities and state universities. Private universities tend to have a lot more money, tend to prioritize research-based sort of graduate degrees. So the master's that I did in music anthropology was at Tufts University, also sort of outside of Boston. And then I did my PhD in African and African American studies with a focus on music anthropology, and I did that at Harvard. But again, yeah, those were through fully funded programs, basically. And so the work that I'm pretty much doing right now, the sort of research project, the book project, came out of my PhD dissertation, which was looking more broadly at how hip-hop in Cape Town challenges racial stereotypes. So questions of, okay, well, hip-hop in South Africa started in Cape Town. It started amongst the brown community, who historically, under 1950, would have been categorized as colored. Not all of these musicians identify as colored. Some of them identify as Cape Malay, some of them identify as indigenous, Khoi or San. Some identify maybe culturally colored, but politically black. And that's, and it's not like these are separate individual categories. Like, there's a lot of overlap as well.
Yeah.
But in all of their music, they work against negative stereotypes of coloreds, which have been perpetuated through South African media, language, ideology, those kinds of ideas. So that is the base. That's kind of the looking at different case studies, looking at different bands whose work challenges these stereotypes and offers alternative ways of thinking about brownness, which itself is kind of it's an interesting category to use. Like, I think there's another premise that, like, post 94 in academia, in academic writing, but also in sort of just South African popular culture, there's a lot of, people accept there's a lot of ways to be white, right? People accept that there's a lot of ways to be Black African, but there's only like 5 ways of being colored, gangster, substance abuser, criminal activity, those kinds of things, right? So, like, why and how is that still being presented? Why and how is that still perpetuated, given that, again, in our lived experience there, we do know so many people that don't do that. Like, yes, it is part of like a broader experience, but like, it's not everybody's experience.
So something we do on this, or we'd like to do on this podcast, is the exploration of the sea, right? Like, what does the sea mean?
Yeah.
And the different versions and also similar versions you just unpacked is something we try and explore here. We try and understand what are these different things, and how why are these the only categories we seem to have when we do all know that there's a lot more? And I think, at least in my view, having these sort of discussions and talking about them, I think, is fantastic. Rizaan, I saw you were melting there on that side. I don't know if it's touching your heart, or if it's the Massachusetts.
No, man, that was a lot of truth, man. Like what he said is facts. And we do on this platform literally expand the radius of what it means to be colored. And showing people like, no, like we are all colored and we all like do different things. And there's this crossover. There's the crossover that connects us and the crossover that sort of like, okay, cool, this is where we differ. But I hear that the whole like gangster drug dealer, or like just like a gamboy, and that is almost like the first thing that you feel when you hear the word colored, and we are trying to change that. Flip side though is there's also like that's popular, like the being funny, the making gat, that type of thing, that's popular amongst our culture. And so how do we find that balance of acceptance, romanticizing, popularizing the things that make us who we are, and then sort of building from there, as opposed to rejecting ourselves, making it harder for us to then want to, you know what I'm saying? Because and I'm going to flip the conversation again, but before I do that, do you want to respond to what I just said?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, I think that's part of it is, yes, within, and again, using this sort of, for our purposes right now, using this term colored, because like not everybody identifies with that term.
Yeah.
Some people do, and it's trying to say that, like, listen, it's not good or bad. You know? It's just, it does demonstrate a wide range of identifying, a wide range of cultural practices, things like that. But like you said, there are certain things that we all kind of, regardless of class, regardless of, we all do kind of identify with, like, stuff like we all know, like, I don't know, like a passion gap or something, or like, or like,
the way we refer to the haircut is a fade.
or like pickle fish,
Oh, yes, sir.
So like
a gibba, a gatsby.
Yeah, but everybody knows that stuff. But it's like, and I do think, again, and this is probably from my own experience, I do think that class has a big part to do with this, where perhaps as somebody of, like, one of the perhaps stereotypes, like you said, of like gangsterism is maybe that every single person is working class, There's no real imagination perhaps of middle class, of like different kinds of access again, right? But then perhaps within that, it's like, oh, if you talk like this, then you're Lani, then you're not really like this, Or like, what is it, the rah accent, or like, you talk with marbles in your mouth. So like, now you're not really from the Mensa,
Okay.
So and like, yeah, like I grew up speaking Afrikaans. I understand it, but I don't really speak it.
Yeah.
So like, what's that distinction? Now, am I not colored enough because I don't,
am I not colored enough?
So it's those kinds of questions that are also within the community, but a lot of this has to do with how the community itself is perceived by others, and
So
it's also, it's crazy because sometimes people shoot down a good message because of the messenger, and we forget that sounding a certain way doesn't necessarily mean we're any different.
Yeah.
It's just us trying to make sure that we get a message across in the best way possible.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of it has to do with not only Afrikaans or Kaps, but also, and like, again, Kaps is obviously restricted to the Western Cape, right? So there's different kinds of sounds of Afrikaans in different parts of the country that brown folks speak. But it also has to do not only with this idea of do you speak Afrikaans or not, but what accent do you use when you're speaking Afrikaans, right? And like accent, like anything, it's like it's a marker of your education level, your social status, where you come from, region. So people use accent in very different ways. They can use it in very different ways to indicate different kinds of ideas or what they want people to like perceive.
I know you're gonna go Rizaan, but do you know
No, I'm
what's,
done.
do you know it's so nice how whenever Warrick like starts with let's talk about accents, and he gives like all three versions. Like he takes you on this, you know.
Because I didn't pedagogy, man. Like,
And you talk about being brown, and you're like this, like you just feel like, hey, okay, in this journey.
I'm just like, right, if you're gonna use these words, you need to know what they mean, you know? And so like like how do we think of words and what are we trying to say in this particular space? We know that it applies to this. We know it might not apply to another space, but this is what I mean right here, you know? And so, just trying to find some kind of clarity or like when we are having these discussions, you know?
like, because, okay, just on the being colored situation quickly. Even within, let's say, the Western Cape, if you go beyond the Boerewors crazy. The Boerewors curtain, crazy. Those people and the way that they sort of, the color that they are is a lot different to us city people colored. It's a lot different when you say from like KZN or Northern Cape or even N7, Malmesbury, those people there. But I think my dream, my hope is that it's fine, be colored. Like you just colored from X or colored with B or colored from Y. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to like, oh no, I'm actually half black or I'm half white. Like, nah, don't do that. Don't, like, come on now, dog. Because you all like, you know, if time stopped at a particular time in history, we all suffering the same.
But it's taken us a while to get to that point. Right?
Phase.
I'm not saying feel that now, you should feel that way.
Yeah.
But it's unpacking all of these things for so long that you wanted to be pushed in a certain way to fit in or be classed a certain way to be able to do what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's about that acceptance part, which I think we are also trying to do here, is that it's fine. Like, be who you are. And we can go from there.
I have one last sort of question and then you can ask us questions.
Okay.
One question was like, okay, so you've done your dissertation, you've done your, I guess, this journey that you're on with colored or just people of color from South Africa and their music. Are there any new artists that you resonate with, that like that interest you, that sort of add to the conversation or don't, but just seem like, okay, cool. That's also a consequence of the experience. Anything that like,
Well, I mean, it is. So actually, I gotta look up this bra's name now. So I was at there was a concert last night. It was like a celebration of Brasafani Kaap's work, and ran to this bra Denroy. Denroy Barnes. Gotta give a shout out to him. So like this bra turned me on to Cape Town drill. You know,
that's new.
So from like, again, like I live in the States, I teach in the States. I come back maybe every 2-3 years. So it's difficult to, keep my finger on the pulse of exactly what's happening all the time. And so also from an academic space, like academia just like, it's super slow, you know? So the research that I did like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, in an academic context is still very contemporary, very current, but maybe what's actually happening right now would have moved on, you know, by the time my stuff gets published, something like that. So that's the one thing. The other thing is like, again, I'm not like providing a voice to the voiceless, you know? It's yo, you guys can tell your own stories and that's entirely fine. This is just a very different medium of that. I think also there is, with this kind of research where I am interviewing people, where I'm speaking to people, it is definitely extractive, you know, like you're not really getting anything out of it. I'm having a conversation out of it. I then publish a paper, write a book. I'm not making tons of money out of this. Like, this is the wrong field to be making any kind of money, like teaching. But I do get social capital out of that, you know. So like I get to be known as the guy that is now the expert on this, because pretty much I'm the only person that writes about it, or like I'm one of the very few, you know. There are scholars in Cape Town that do write about this, and like I'm very grateful for their work and like being able to sort of move on from that. But like what I sort of get out of this is it's a social capital. It's being part of a network, being known as this guy that maybe knows about this stuff, right? And so the MCs, the DJs, the people that I would write about, they also gain this social capital, but it's an academic space where it means nothing to them, or like it doesn't really benefit them in that kind of way, you know. So like it's very different from journalism, for example, where there's an immediate do an interview, think it's published tomorrow, people know about you, got your face in the paper, boom, you know. You get a certain publicity from that, where this is a very different and much slower kind of process of how this work gets out there. And like I said, again, it's like, on the one hand, you know, I've traveled around the world, I've presented at conferences around the world, I teach this stuff in my classes. So Cape Town hip hop, brown hip hop, Afrikaans hip hop is being presented to different audiences that would never have known about it in this way. But how does that really benefit the musicians that I'm working with? You know? So that's one kind of aspect. I'm not sure I really answered your question, because I think I just kind of went off in a different space. But the music, like I was saying, Cape Town drill, it's like, I guess I'd heard that it existed, but now it's like, oh wow, there's all these different bands that are doing it. But then again, there's kind of the perception of hip hop in Cape Town is that it's always been resistive. It's always been presenting very positive images, right? Or like, and so drill, the genre itself inherently has to do with a gang culture, with a drug culture. So like, what is happening in that space? How is the language being used in a very different way? Who is the audience? Who is this music being made for? What are the different kinds of beefs within this? It's a relatively young genre as far as I know. But it seems to be taking off. And again, interestingly enough, it's taking off through TikTok, right? So that's a different avenue in which it is being presented as opposed to like YouTube, or as opposed to like a formal record company deal kind of thing, you know? So those kinds of developments in music and language, the way the language is used, the way that culture, different aspects of culture are being presented is just super interesting, you know? Yeah.
Too much questions. Too much. But like I said, like, are you ready to sort of flip the script on us and ask us questions? Ruminate on that for a bit.
Yeah, I think it's just, again, this sort of part of it is, we know these stereotypes exist in South African media and South African culture, you know? We know that that's where it comes from. But like, if I'm trying to remember things when I was a lightie that I saw on TV, or like TV shows, things like that, I'm thinking of those, you know, those Arrive Alive ads, right? Papa wag vir jou. You know, like everybody of a certain age knows that expression, you know? And then like there was a follow-up to that where there were 3 ads, and it was very, again, this Arrive Alive campaign, it was very much directed to racial categories. Like the one that was directed to Black Africans, like the theme was like, I was drinking in a shebeen, and then he looks in the mirror and he's like, Babalast, and he's like, he looks like a tokolosh, and then he crosses the street, he doesn't look, and he gets hit by a car. Don't drink, you know. Be aware when you're at the shebeen, right? And then the one that was directed to like a white audience is like, nah, beautiful white couple, young in love. They meet up at this house party in like Woodstock or OBS. You can see, the theme is called First Kiss. They're about to kiss and they get interrupted. They're about to kiss and they get interrupted. And then they get in a car, they're driving down Main Road, and they're not wearing their seatbelts. And then there's a car crash. The first kiss is their bodies flying through the air and their faces touching, right? And also the music in the Shabin ad is Kwaito. The music in this First Kiss ad is like some indie whatever, And then the ad that's directed towards colored is like it's in Manenberg. These brass are playing drums. Like this lighter comes in. He's like, he speaks to the manner, and they're like, nah, fuck. Because they all get up. They get their guns and they get into pile into the car, and then nobody's sitting in the front seat. And they're like, yo, bro, how are we gonna get to this? How are we gonna get to this drive-by? It's like, well, I'm too drunk to drive. And then. So the joke is like, these gangster ass coloreds are too fucking incompetent to figure out how to get to a drive-by. They're too drunk. Maybe they're socially responsible, they're not going to take a drive, but they're too incompetent to figure this out. But they're definitely gangsters. They're definitely in Manenberg. They're definitely playing drums. And then the music for that is hip hop. So like, you have these cultural stereotypes that are reinforced by the music. White people listen to indie shit. Black folks listen to Kwaito. Colors listen to hip hop. And so those kinds of visual stereotypes, the narrative that, okay, well, blacks are going to relate to going to Shabin, coloreds are going to relate to gangsters, right? And white people are going to relate to young love, So we look at how those three presentations have certain kind of values to them, right? Values of how you live your life, values of what these people do normally. And then also, it doesn't only relate to these racial categories, it relates broadly to South African imagination. Yeah, bro, we all know these people do this. Makes for total sense, But then how these visual images are then also reinforced by music, right? Again, Kwaito, that's some black stuff. Indie pop, that's some white stuff. Only colors listen to hip hop. Okay. I got it. I can imagine like being in the ad agency, like, bruh, let me show you. Like, so those, and like, this was probably made like 2010, which like, yes, it was 15 years ago, but like, again, these things stick in your mind because they're on TV all the time, And the reason this was successful is because they draw on stereotypes that people are aware of and that stereotypes that resonate with people. And like, yeah, there was like public outcry at the sort of colored ad, and that was pulled. But like, somebody put it out there to begin with. Somebody thought it was totally fine to do that, So like, what other? I guess I'm interested in other media representations that draw on specific racial stereotypes, books, movies. That just give a sort of a more contemporary perspective, but still pretty much reinforce those ideas, That was a very long explanation. That would be my question, Like, what is happening now, or is it still happening now?
So, I mean, I can go. There is I think a very popular series called Spinners, right? But it's centered around the use of hip hop and cars and doing donuts and that sort of thing, but also has a gangsterism element in it because of where it is taking place. And again, something we all can understand and see, or a part of the colored culture, is that is there. And it's hugely successful, right? Like, because it also plays into that familiarity element that we understand that people that look like this do have these elements in their life. And I think recently that's probably an updated example of that, in that it is drawing eyeballs just because of that that element of the show. And also a lot of viewership, drove up a lot of viewership because they want to see that on a big screen, right? Or full, 8 episode mini series, and doing successfully. So I don't like is it ever going to go away?
Yeah. Well,
like
I mean, I think the other part of like is, yeah, stereotypes do exist. They're not all negative, you know, but like when these things that we relate to because we just know that they're part of the culture are used in a very specific way, then that becomes a problem, you know. That becomes like, well, this is like, why you got to do this, you know? Why you got to make us look like this, you know? And not only that, but like, why does it resonate with everybody? You know, so it's those kinds of like, yeah, for sure, stereotypes exist.
So that was kind of gonna be my answer right now. But firstly, I can see this man is a lecturer. Like he gave us a bit of an intro body to know more.
just for a question.
Like he gave us our backstory abstract. I'm here for it. And I think JP will appreciate this answer. It's the fact that unfortunately it sells. Unfortunately, people will consume it, whether it's something that sort of creates that like it offends people, or it like the people that are actually have access to it do know that.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate reality. Because I was thinking about like, what is the OG? Was it Villa se kind?
Yeah, Charlene Suteriches, yeah.
Yeah. That was the OG one, you know, Benjamin Kubuti.
Yeah.
We know that, but we're kind of like, that was like, we're forced to experience that. And the only thing that we know about that is the person that looked like us. We don't actually like, you know, we don't actually have that story. Whereas this Spinners, we know like 5 brasa like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, so it's a matter of, unfortunately, it's still going to be driven by how much capital can we gain, who's actually the target audience and stuff like that. So that's the framing, is like, how can we take your eyes off of that thing and shift it to people that also look like you but just doing other things. People that also look like you. Are you gonna find that interesting? So there needs like that. It's gonna take creative thought to bring that in. I think that's honestly that's art. That's the tea.
That's the tea.
That's the tea. And I'm not like this isn't sort of I don't know a whole lot about this particular area, but the idea of TV ads, film representation, like colored actors, colored brasa, they could be any brown person, you know?
Yeah, facts.
They could be like, I mean, if you're thinking of like Spur ads, you know, you got some colored bra, now it's a Native American, you know? If you think of the TV series Homeland, you know, it was set in Pakistan. Like Islamabad was like Salt River.
It was but it was shot here.
Yeah.
It was shot,
so you just get a bunch of colored bras and now they're Pakistani, you know? And so that
my friend.
So the way that like this kind of racial ambiguity, right? Are you white? Are you black? Nah, you brown. Okay, well, you could be any brown, you know? How that then also contributes to this, like, maybe like a dismissal of an actual sense of culture, an actual sense of belonging, right? Yeah. So if you can be anything, then you're not actually anything, right? What are you if you can be any of these things, right? So it's kind of those kinds of questions, maybe.
It takes the day, yeah, boy.
But it's like, I mean, like I said, man, you don't have to like go to America and like go to do these other. You just need to read and like have time to think about this stuff, you know, which a lot of people don't.
What are we gonna read though? That's the question. Like, what are we supposed to read? What are we supposed to see? What are we supposed to listen to? And so that's kind of like, sorry. I was a bit harsh there, but that's the thing though, is that what are we supposed to read? What are we supposed to listen to? Because the other thing also comes in where I'm South African, but I don't resonate with everything South African.
Yeah.
And you know, so I resonate with what I resonate, and so that's the accessibility of those things are there. So the challenge for us, or the invitation for us, is to then be a color doing that, and then walk back. Walk back and say, okay, cool. What is the aspect of you? What's the part of you that resonates with that? And then once again, like my message again is like, we don't reject, we don't dismiss. We try and romanticize so that comes from a place of positivity, and then we branch out from there so that it becomes more acceptable. Because that's what you said there was hurtful, but it's true.
I mean, I do want to say, like, when I said, nah, just fucking read a book, bro.
Oh, not that,
Like,
sorry. The other thing about being anything, you actually end up not being anything.
Yeah.
That would hurt. But read a book, I'm fine with that.
Well, no, I feel like that also it's a very classed answer.
Ooh.
You know, like, you need to be able to have access to these books. You need to be able to not only read English, but read this particular kind of English, and then be able to interpret what this means. But again, like, this is a lived experience for all of us. We are already thinking about these things, but like, how do you articulate these things in a certain kind of way?
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to go through all these years of education to be aware of these ideas, to think of these ideas, to like recognize what's going on, you know? And maybe that's just like, how do these things, or do you think that these ideas are relevant to your life? Do they change the way you engage with people when you go to your job? Do they change the way you watch a movie? Do they change the way you interpret the song, you know? For the better? Or was it just like a neutral thing? Yeah.
Am I answering this?
Anybody's answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes. Yes, it does. And the reason why it does is because we are trying to solve a big problem with small steps. And the big problem is, the whole like equality, equity, justice and stuff like that, right? The final step, or the step for us, is decolonization. And unfortunately, we are obviously a consequence of colonization. So we are like, everything that we are is rooted in that. So the reason why it's important to have these ideas is so that we can take back our identity. So that when we enjoy something, when we experience something, and it doesn't feel like, oh, why does that bother me? Why do I feel icky about that? We understand where that ickiness comes from. Like a movie that came out recently, Dune, the Dune Part 2, right?
Yeah.
You watch that movie, and some of us will think, white savior complex, right? You know what I'm saying? And then some of us are like, oh, it's a really cool movie, like quality. Like, I really resonate with the brown people in the desert. They were so strong. They were in touch with their the environment. They could tame the worms. You know what I'm saying? And they actually taught the white person to be amazing. You know what I'm saying? But then, like, you read again, like, no, definitely white savior complex. And so, and that's kind of just like, it's just like, our path is representation. Our path is identity. Our path is intersectionality. Our path is all of these different things, because we want to get to that space where we have decolonized. And that's my answer. It's a big one. But that's why I want to say it's important that you exist right now. It's important that you've done the work, because I hope that people that watch this, that also feel like they want to make an impact. They can now see, okay, wait. I don't have to make a massive impact. I can just add on. And we can sort of connect the chain constantly. And then eventually, inshallah,
I love that.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's just all do our own small parts in
Yeah.
adding to the
Yeah.
chain.
And the seas
Yeah.
will change.
Nice.
We want to sort of end the discussion then, sort of have fun for the rest of the show, but we're still going to talk nonsense. We're still going to learn things. So JP has some, we asked the audience on social media, on IG, some
Yes.
questions.
On Instagram,
There
right?
you go.
Which do you prefer? Right. So
Okay.
there was a poll, and there's 4 options: a degree, leave the country for TEFL, which is teaching abroad, start a business, or odd jobs and casual work. And so the overwhelming, the highest.
Wait, before you give the answer, sorry. Before you give the answer, the spirit of this is obviously for people who just want to take the next step and figure out their life. And all these options are available now.
Yeah.
We can go study, maybe, by the means. You can go teach English or teach abroad, get an odd job, or what's the other one? Start a business. Start a
Yeah.
business.
Thanks for the context. And 49% said get a degree, right?
Okay.
So the importance of academia is still very prevalent, and even in our audience, that they still see the value in getting a degree. How do you feel about that as an academic?
And
I
as it
mean,
pertains also to those 4
To
different
those
things.
4
Yeah.
different things.
Like, okay, on the one hand, listen, my degree is in African studies, African American studies, and I look at music anthropology. I mean, they're cool, you know. It's very interesting. I think, obviously, obviously humanities, it's an important aspect of our lives. It teaches empathy. It's like how to relate to other people in the world. Like, okay, so this is what's happening over here.
Yeah.
Oh, how does that relate to my life? Oh. And so, like, if you I don't know, man, if you're a doctor, right, you can't just, prescribe some, medication and then expect the person to take it. It's like, well, maybe you need to think about, like, do they have medical aid? How much is this particular medication? Is there a cheaper medication? If you say, like, take it 3 times a day with a meal, it's like, Brad, can you even eat 3 meals a day, you know? So, like, at a very basic level, it's like, well, thinking of other people's lives as how does the humanities broadly make us think about empathy? Cool. And I've been very lucky to have this particular trajectory. Brad, if you're looking for, like, this is not a way to get money, you know? So, like, yeah, like, if you want to...
It's giving person of color a parent.
So,
Is it
like,
gonna pay the bill?
yeah, so, like, doctor, lawyer, dentist, okay, cool. Like, yeah, man, get a degree, do what you want to do, you know? But I think also, again, it's like, do you have time to... I'm not saying, like, you need to take a degree that's going to make you actually going to pay the bills. Like, how do you imagine your life? Is this actually something that you want to do?
Yeah.
Is this something that you've been wanting to pursue the whole time? I think...
fundamentally, that's what you're trying to answer.
Like, I think
with those
higher
options.
education
Yeah.
teaches critical thinking, teaches empathy, how to be in different spaces, how to be in the world. I think that's a great thing. If you choose to do that through a degree path, fantastic. If you choose to do that by teaching English as a foreign language in Singapore, cool, man.
Yeah.
But I think that idea of sort of self-improvement in that way, again, like, critical thinking, man, you gotta...
Yes.
A particular skill. So, again, I obviously didn't answer any of those questions. But
No, it's a great response. I think sorry.
No. Sorry. Or you wanted me to respond to what he said or respond to the question?
No, to what he said, I think.
Oh, yeah. So,
because I think we understand
my response to that is like, which one would you have chosen, though?
the path I've taken.
The path
the path you've taken, yes.
The path I've taken.
That makes sense.
It was long though, bruh, and like, yeah,
Yeah.
But you've spoken about like just being privileged enough to walk that path.
Yeah.
Being fortunate enough, and I think that's the That's the, like, again, if you're reading that question, like, if you're privileged enough to do any of these, whether it's get a degree, start a business, I would invite you to X.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what we,
Yeah.
that's how we see it. But if you, I don't know, from the jump, do what you can, bro.
Yeah.
if you like,
Yeah, if this is
Yeah.
the only real opportunity for you, then like, bro, you must take it. You
do
know?
what you can, hundreds. Then I'm first. So this is a variation on the game or concept Kiss, Marry, Kill, or F, Marry, Kill. And it's titled
Okay.
Hoofas. Nee, las. My broer, klas. Right? So you can see my expression. What is so what? So again, it is Hoofas.
Mm-hmm.
Nee, las. And nee, klas. Oh, my broer, klas.
Klas.
Okay, so which is better? An extra hour in the day, an extra day in the week, or an extra month in the year? No context, just vibes. Go for it. An extra hour in the day, an extra day in the week, or an extra month in the year. And what's interesting about this is that, like, it just tells you where your head's at. The capitalists have had eye to the chat.
Oh, must I go first?
Now, anyone, yeah.
Anyone.
If
I'm
you-
still absorbing. I'm thinking.
Because like you said, bro, I'm like thinking, why would I want an extra day to work? Like cut job. Why would I do that?
I was thinking more of like an extra day to like a weekend, like
Ooh.
chill.
No, but that's
What
you
the
assuming
world?
that the extra day is gonna
Nah,
go to
you-
weekends.
That's your.
You choose.
Yeah,
That's how
man.
it's
You see,
it's
like
no old
you
boss.
saying that the
no old boss,
most likely
bro.
it's going to end up being a 6-day work week, a
Yeah.
2-day weekend. And I know you. We all wanted to be the 3-day weekend, but we know that in the society we live in now, it's not going to end
Why
up.
is this
being
your
that
manager?
way.
Well, what do you do the other days? That's the question. What do you do the other months?
This
What do you
isn't.
do the
This
other-
isn't that. This is
Okay.
how fast. Nee, kras. Nee, broer, las. That's the game, bro. That's the game.
Okay.
So
So
ask me questions.
Okay. So I would take the extra hour.
Extra hour in the day is not class.
No, I think it should be how fast.
Is that how fast? Okay.
how fast? I think extra hour should be how fast.
Okay.
Because I think it also allows that can be easily swinged either way because you can work for a certain amount of hours and have that extra hour to yourself.
Yeah.
And if you need that extra hour for sleep or whatever, you have that extra hour to sleep. So for me, how fast is like a solid middle.
Okay. Extra month in the year.
Extra month is a corner. Because at least for me,
We really don't.
I don't need a
We
I don't need a
really don't
13th.
need that.
I need a 13th check.
Yeah.
Not a 13th month to
Yeah.
be spending that.
Please.
So for me, 13th is
last.
this last. And
Okay.
okay, the day argument, if we get it right, class. But I just
Okay.
know it won't end up that way. So that would be my order.
This is tricky, man.
It is tricky.
It
It's the
is,
fun
that's the
thing.
point.
Like you just commit to it and you
Yeah.
move on. Lucky I didn't call this kiss, marry, kill.
I feel like that's easier to actually choose, you know.
Kiss the extra hour in the day. Hey, yo.
Because you got it. Because again, I'm just thinking like,
Again, it's only your
okay, an extra month to just and chill. Yeah, class. That's
Class.
nice.
Class,
Okay.
okay.
You know, I feel like an extra hour is just gonna go by so quick.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna notice.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
how fast or last?
Yeah. Hope
Last, bro.
less.
Less.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in a day,
Yeah.
how fast? I mean, yeah. So I was thinking it like this. No one really cares what I think. But,
I care what you
but
Oh,
I was thinking.
sweet.
I first thought, okay, cool, an extra hour. Yo, please, yo, please. But then I realized, imagine an extra month of summer, of December,
Yeah.
like a whole extra December. Remember the World Cup 2010, how long that holiday was? Just like a month like that. Christmas. So if we have like an extra month of summer, that would be quite class.
Yeah.
That'd be quite class. And then okay, fair, yes. So I'm gonna night class an extra month.
Okay.
And I'm actually gonna last the day.
Oh.
Okay.
Extra day of the week. Extra day of the week. What?
Okay.
No.
Wait, but like, how long is a day? Instead of like 24 hours now is a day, like, 20
No, it's still a
hours
normal
working
day.
days.
It's like, still a normal day. Extra day of the week, no thank you.
Okay.
No thank you.
Okay.
And then an extra hour how fast.
Okay.
And then the last one.
Yeah, I'm not good at these questions because I want to know like, well, why?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you can ask why. Next one is the deconstructed trifle. Hou vas, naaiklas, my bedoelers, custard, jelly, and canned fruit. In the comments! On YouTube and IG, what you base?
Should I go with this one first?
Yeah, that one's tough.
So, okay. Personal preference.
It's personal preference.
preference.
You're not offending anybody. They're not gonna unsubscribe.
Exactly.
They're not gonna unsubscribe.
Please stay.
Maybe they will.
Maybe they will, but please stay. Okay, custard for me is class.
Custard is class.
Custard is class.
Versatility.
Okay.
Versatility. I use that.
Mama pudding likes this.
So custard, class. Then for me, hou vas, jelly.
Okay.
Jelly is hou vas just because I do think it serves its purpose well.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else that I can. So like, again, not justifying why I'm saying last to canned fruit, but canned fruit, I can have fruit at another stage.
Yeah.
So for me, jelly needs to hou vas.
Yeah.
Well, it should be together. Different story. But yes, that to me, custard, jelly, and then last canned fruit. I also get the advantage of answering first. Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Well,
You just let me go.
so my mom makes excellent trifle, obviously.
Facts.
But like, yeah, man, I would like
He's having.
I would lust the jelly.
Last the jelly. Okay.
I feel like canned fruit is
Good enough.
essential.
Essential. Okay.
Except that's what makes it a trifle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what is this? Hou vas, lust, and
Class.
yeah, man, lust the jelly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Custard jelly.
But custard's still at
Custard
top.
still, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm exactly like.
Oh,
JP.
okay.
But like I set this up because I was curious as to just what are the preferences, man. Like what do you champion when you have
Yeah.
these desserts? Like what do you look forward to actually like digging into the
I
ones?
feel like jelly doesn't taste like anything, though. What does it really contribute to?
Ooh, it's
know?
giving sherry in the jelly.
Is that good? Another one?
No, that's all.
So in this bowl, we have the game that we play on this podcast called Say Manao. A series of hypothetical questions.
Okay.
You're also not gonna enjoy it.
You're just gonna want to know the why. But we just want you to take on if this should happen. Right?
Okay.
Just before you go, because you obviously don't, you're obviously in the States. Do you get say my now like from your family still? Like who's like, you say my now? You know, like
Like with some friends, man.
yeah. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
spirit. The spirit of
Yeah.
that's just like, oh, say my now, no, this had to happen.
Yeah.
Go for the job.
Say Manao, you could change your culture for a year and have that full experience. Which one would you choose and why?
I thought there was gonna be options, bro. That's like
That's not how the question
no.
is.
Sometimes Lal forgives.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Okay. I thought this is like multiple choice. Okay.
No.
Same now could change my culture.
For one full year.
Sure, this is.
I mean, okay, listen. Listen, I'm an African that happens to live in South Africa, you know? That's my culture. I would I guess my idea of like access to different culture will be through language. So like I would want to learn French, Arabic, Swahili, you know, have a broader relationship to the continent. Yeah. And again, I appreciate that like just knowing the language doesn't put you in that culture, but like it certainly allows you kind of access to it. So like, yeah,
That's a
man.
great answer.
Francophone French would be great. Arabic would be amazing. Swahili, yeah, any of those. So embrace those 3 languages for a year.
Rizaan?
Yo, it's tricky, man.
It is tricky.
Because I was thinking for a whole year.
Oh, yeah.
Like a week, bro.
Or that extra day.
An extra day, yeah.
Because like I'm thinking, okay, cool. Then maybe a culture that has like, but I don't even like the beach, bro. So like, I don't want to be like a surfer, cowabunga dude. I don't want to do that, bro. Just sunburn the whole time. Golf the whole time. Sand anywhere. Nah,
You say you don't want to be a Ninja Turtle.
hundreds.
They live in the sewer, bro.
Oh wait, yeah. No, he was the cowabunga dude. Crazy. Okay, maybe I'd like to experience.
What was that? Yo. What was that place, bro? I kind of want to know now what you... Or maybe don't.
Sorry. Nah, because I was like, maybe I want to experience like the South Korean, and I was like, yo, but I must join the army. The wrong answers only.
Okay, you don't need to answer.
Yeah,
It's fine.
I'm
It's
going,
fine. I'm actually
going.
happy with the
Okay.
exploration
Yeah,
of
wait,
Africa.
thanks. It's not clippable moments.
Yeah.
You know what you did.
Same now.
Same enough.
Okay.
Please.
You had to choose one genre of music to listen to for the rest of your life. What would it be? One genre. One genre alone. And unfortunately, you're going to have to answer this one, Rizaan.
Yeah, I know. Can it be like the broad genre, like pop? Does it have to be like subculture?
No,
Something?
No. I think
It
broad
has to
enough.
be one particular artist.
Yeah.
Yo.
Only Taylor Swift. Or
Whose side is he?
Lal side, clearly.
Whose side is
One
he on?
particular artist is
No,
crazy.
I mean like, just like, cause you
Nah,
see,
like-
yeah, okay. So like you can choose
Okay.
big pop
Yeah,
or
or
rock,
rock boys.
Yes.
or like
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
okay. Then that's easy. Then that's
Okay, then?
hip hop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oof.
Is that diverse enough for you too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's then I can, I remember syrup sandwiches and blah, blah, blah. Move away, go, I'm done. I see what I said. What's next?
yeah, hip hop, you know.
Hip hop too.
Oh, okay, I want to change my answer.
I mean,
Content.
So you also previously did a podcast called Here in My Car, right?
oh, that is a deep dive,
So-
homie.
What? Just to flip this kind of
Flip the
something.
script.
What would you listen to in the car? Would the genres stay the same or?
You know, I think on long drives, I like just drum and bass because it's just loud and it keeps you awake and you're just going, you know.
I jam with drum and bass.
But I don't think like, yeah, because I think also like if I'm listening to hip hop, like generally I'm listening to the lyrics, you know.
Yeah.
So I can't see what's happening in front of me when I'm driving.
Lost in the sauce.
Or like now become that person I'm driving. you know?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mm.
I think just long
Yeah,
drives.
that's a
are
good
yeah.
question.
Cool.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I would go R&B.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just
I should have said that.
Yeah.
but you.
I should have, but like for the rest of my life though.
Yeah,
yo.
True.
Imagine no J. Cole.
You were gonna say jazz.
I would have, but I feel like it's not Sunday every day.
Since when? must put you on. I found this African jazz artist that like the one song is called Jazz from Namibia.
Aye.
The one song is called Nkosi Fantasia. Not Nkosi Sikeleli, no.
Yeah.
Nkosi
Fantasia.
Nkosi Planet. That's a canon joke. It's a canon joke.
Inside.
So we like to sort of end the episode by giving the guest the opportunity to do two things.
Okay.
Alright, so the first thing we'd like you to do is sort of just like through the camera, straight there. Plug, promote, just any places that people can follow you if you'd like them to follow you. Any places that people can collaborate with you, how can they reach you, that type of thing. Any projects that you're working on, any festivals that you're going to, whatever, just share that.
Okay.
Take a moment just to like shamelessly plug you and whatever brand that you like to represent. Or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny. Like, I don't actually have. I mean, yeah, obviously I got an Instagram, but like that's private because I can't just have everybody see my shit.
Yeah.
Like, listen, if any of this, these kinds of questions resonate, or if you have questions about like, I don't know, any of this kind of work, or if you're doing some of the kinds of things, I think just warrickmoses at Gmail is fine. But yeah, it's like going into the academic field, like, first of all, yeah, like I said, probably a zillion times now, it's not a way to make money. It's like, it's a lot of,
Yeah, he's like,
just like, it's
don't
a
do
lot
this.
of-
Why is this starting to sound like a message to my younger self? This is
like,
like,
yeah,
make money.
3 words you would say to your 18-year-old self.
Yeah.
Betting the lead there, JP.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't remember what I was saying. Listen, it's very cool. It's yeah, academia is great. The work that I study is fantastic. But if you want to get in touch with me, these kinds of questions, warrickmoses at Gmail.
I was gonna say this, sorry, is that like, unfortunately, you've done the hard part, so everyone else gonna interact with you is gonna do the easy part. You know what I'm saying? It's like you are the one who traversed the unknown, created the maps, and all of us thank you for it. You know what I'm saying? So, so we're just gonna come to you for the map. That's all. We're just gonna come to you for the map.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, like a big part of it obviously is research, but it's also teaching, right? And so, part of that is making the map and then showing you how to navigate it.
Exactly. So the second thing we like to sort of give the guests an opportunity to do is, if you could give a message to your younger self. Yeah.
Okay.
What did that be? Any age, any period, any time, just like a young message to your younger self.
Yo, bro, I'd be like, that is tough. Like, I've spent more time in school than my brother has, except that he's like a medical doctor, pretty much in charge of a hospital. I like pay more attention in math class, like,
That came full circle.
and I get,
Sorry.
yeah, listen, it's not about this, it's not like, listen, only do a degree because it's money, or like only do what you need to do because you want to do because it's money. I'm just saying, like, this is a really hard path. You really, yeah, like my friends are married, they got houses, they got kids, they got 401ks, I'm pretty much, like, I graduated in 2019, had a postdoc for a year and a half. I worked my first professional job my first professor job after that. Now I'm at another new university. This is my second year at this university. In terms of like my actual academic profession, like I'm very much at the early stages of it. Like there's a lot of stuff that you're not going to be able to do, like relationships, getting a house, getting a car, even like regular stuff. It's like, what do you listen to in the car? Bro, I don't even have a car. What do I listen to on the Uber? Yeah, okay. In the taxi. So like, yeah. Follow what you, dollar what you must. Like follow your true vocation, but like just be aware of, I think that's the other part of it. Like there's a lot of things that I didn't know about academia broadly until I actually got an academic job. And then it was like, what? You know? So really ask those questions if you're pursuing these things. Really ask those questions, decide, is this what I want to be doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Cool. And I think, sorry, again, from our side, I know when we started off the episode, you said you don't think that your life is that interesting, but I'm sure everyone that is tuned to this point can attest that it is very interesting. So I think from Rizaan and myself and the team, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this and allowing us in just a little sneak peek into what you are doing. And I think for just sharing that with us and allowing us to learn from that. But if you like this content, please do like, share, subscribe, and comment down below your favorite part. And then we'll be... Are you back next week? Yes?
What is happening? Please rate us on the audio platforms.
Please rate us on the audio platforms. And we out. Peace.